Hey guys, before today's video, don't forget to use the code MR15 for 15% off over at myfragrancesamples.com. They ship in the USA, Canada and Puerto Rico. Great place to get your fragrance samples. Where do you get fragrance samples in North America? myfragrancesamples.com, myfragrancesamples.com, myfragrancesamples.com. Link in the description. Hello guys, welcome back to the show. So today it's another episode of my most loved fragrances, and this is the show where we get a special guest usually from the fragrance world, and we interview them about their 5 most cherished fragrances that have meant most to them perhaps in their life. So it's sort of a mini This Is Your Life with a fragrant theme. I've had many people from the world of YouTube, but today, as with the last episode, we have someone who is the owner of a fantastic fragrance brand. It is Nick Steward from the brand Gallivant. Hello.
Hello, Dan. Hello. Good evening. Hi.
Hello, and thank you for joining me. Great pleasure to have you on the show. So we're looking forward to finding all about your picks and a little bit more about your brand and you as a person as well, I hope, in the course of doing that. So we're going to get into your picks in just a moment.
Okay.
I'll start at the most recent development though, because you've just sent me a sample of your new fragrance release. So the brand, your brand, if people don't know, is Gallivant.
Yeah.
And what I really like about the brand is there are so many different perfume brands in the world now, and it's hard to sort of say, well, what makes your brand unique, or how do you describe this one? But there are a few, such as maybe Zoologist, where you can say, well, they've got a pretty unique selling point. And then Gallivant, again, you have that because every fragrance is named after a different city or place in the world, which I think is a really, really great concept. Anyone can kind of get it immediately, and it makes you stand out. So I really like that. I'll let you talk about that a bit in a moment. Forgive me waffling on here, but I've just got your new one, which I really, really like. And I'm not just saying that, which is called Naples.
Yeah.
Obviously, otherwise known as Napoli. I think I'm correct. If you're in Italy,
yes.
Good. And what you've said on the sample thing here is a good description. Is a citrus woody incense perfume, salty sea air, smoke, charming Neapolitan decadence, which I think is fantastic. So let's start at the beginning, not at the beginning, but let's start at the most recent thing. Just tell us a bit about the new release, and then I'll find out about the brand. So Naples, tell me, what was the idea? Do we have a perfumer, etc.?
With all of these perfumes, because I like these places. I mean, sometimes people ask me, how did you choose? And it's like, well, they kind of choose me as well. I mean, I like Italy a lot. One of my best friends in the world lives in the north, but actually I really like the south of Italy. I sort of love it because it's chaotic and a bit decadent. I love this idea of Naples. It's a port city. I think port cities always have something special. You think Liverpool, for example, in England, Odessa in Ukraine. I think there's always an interesting culture around ports. So Naples, I love the place. So it's kind of like a love letter, I guess, in a way, each time we bring out a new destination. And, I don't always want to do really obvious things. So I don't know, if people think Italy, I don't know, do they think Florence or something, or Venice, which are really beautiful. But I kind of like Naples because it's a bit more raucous and dirty. So there was this idea of decadence that I wanted to bring. And then there's also a thing that's quite difficult to translate, but it's called sprezzatura in Italian. And it's all very sprezzatura, Dan, really. It's like very elegant, but there's always something twisted. So it's not like perfect and boring. It's like there's something off, and that's what makes it interesting. So that was the idea of the perfume. So it's kind of classic incense in a really vertical way. It's got slightly weird things with the ginger and the salt to sort of keep it a bit more interesting, I hope.
Yeah, I like that. There's definitely a salty sea air vibe. I not to put you out. Can you actually give us a note listing? Do you have that off the top of your head, or shall I call it up?
I mean, listen, the formula is quite long. In the top would say salt and ozonic notes. There's ginger. There's a little bit of bergamot. Calabria is next door to Naples, so that made sense. CO2 Sichuan pepper, which I use in Istanbul and in Amsterdam as well. Then you go into the heart, which is already in the incense. So fumant, which is something which is from a supplier called Bertrand Payan. It's quite a particular material.
Yes.
Incense resinoid. So different qualities of incense.
Hmm.
And then you're getting into more woody, patchouli, clear wood, which is not something
Yes.
everyone knows. Clear wood is like a cleaner green molecule of the patchouli oil.
Hmm.
So it's quite a long formula. Labdanum is in there. There's a little bit of
Yes.
amber accord, some vetiver. So yeah, it's quite a long notes listing. But
Yeah.
you know, Dan, I mean, you all know, sometimes when we do notes listings, it doesn't tell you the whole formula.
No, it doesn't. No.
And sometimes I've got a love-hate relationship with these kind of pyramids and these notes listings.
Yeah.
I think someone yesterday was saying to me, "Oh, I don't know if I like patchouli very much. Will I like Naples?" And it's like, don't think of these materials as just blocks.
Yeah.
Think of them in little supporting roles, different dosages, different percentages. So yeah, I don't think a notes listing always gives you the full feeling of what a
No.
perfume is going to be
I
in
was
you.
just looking
Yeah,
at the notes on Fragrantica, but I think you're absolutely right. I think the overall aura of what you're going for there is sometimes more helpful to sort of understand. I think your the brief description there, the air,
yeah,
freshness, a charming classiness, but there's something a little bit raunchy under there with the
yeah,
bit of the
there is.
smokiness.
A bit of
Smokiness.
a bit of
Yeah,
raunchy. Yeah, yeah,
I think it's beautiful. I really, really like it. It's not just a straightened up citrus aromatic, but it is by somebody who's created a few great ones of those because it's Luca Maffei, one of
yeah.
my favorite perfumers. I
He's great,
think he
isn't
may
he?
have, did he do Hubigant's Cologne Intense? I think he may have done
I
that
don't
one.
know. I mean, the one I really fell in love with of his work was one of the Mask Milano ones,
Mm,
La Pesa, which is the
right. Don't know.
iris sparkling top. Yeah,
Yes.
he's amazing. He really is. I mean, a
Yeah.
lovely light touch, very confident, really a finesse with his materials. Yeah,
Yeah.
really, really good.
Yeah, everything I've smelled by him from niche stuff like yours, and there's even a couple of affordable sort of ones for bigger
Yeah,
brands out there that are
yeah,
really, really just great. So yeah, very impressed. Wonderful. Love the story behind Naples. I'll get into your list in a second. Just briefly, I like the idea of Naples too. As I was saying, thinking the preamble here, very much an outsider city. The rest of Italy kind of looked down on them a little bit.
yeah.
I was
A
always
lot.
fascinated with the story that Diego Maradona went there. There was a sort of a not very successful football team in the mid '80s, and he sort of single-handedly made them win the league a couple of times.
Yeah,
And he's a god there, sort of for all time. Rest in peace. And also, I was always very interested in the Camorra, the Italian mafia. I've
yeah,
watched there's a series about that, and I really enjoy it. So I love that dark side of an otherwise quite charming Italian city, but definitely a double-edged sword there. Yeah.
it's amazing. Just everywhere in Naples, the Maradona graffiti. I mean, every like
Yes,
street, every block, there's he's like a deity. So it's
he is. Yeah, so much so that when his Argentina team was playing Italy in the World Cup in 1990, which was in Italy, the event, the people of Naples were supporting Argentina,
I didn't
not
know.
Italy. Yeah, yeah. So it was very, very big deal. Anyway, that's kind of by the by, but it's a great. I hope I get to go there one day. Now let's get into your life story a little bit and your choices, and then I'll come back a little bit more generally about your brand too as we
Okay.
go through. So, just very brief question that I ask everybody:
Yeah.
at what point and maybe why did you find that you became inordinately interested in fragrances?
I think it was relatively late. I mean, I'm not from like a third generation Grass family or whatever. So growing up, my mum actually wore Diorella and Diorissimo, and my dad, funnily enough, wore Eau Sauvage. Um, and what's funny to me is I now make most of my compound oils. I make them at the Runitska company in Grass.
Uh,
Um, so it's kind of come full circle. But of course, I never even knew Runitska existed when my parents had those perfumes.
yes.
So I sort of grew up in a house where we didn't talk about perfume. We weren't kind of perfume obsessed. My parents wore perfumes, but partly because they like French culture. So they wore French products and drank
Mm,
French wine and that sort of thing.
mhm,
Um, but I didn't know it was an industry. I didn't know it was a job, any of that.
mhm.
So really how I discovered perfumery was I went to university in Scotland, in Edinburgh. I did a degree in Arabic and French.
Wow.
And
Okay.
then I moved to Paris because I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And I fell into a big company called Pooch, Pyg, which most people now know because they own things like Penhaligon's,
Oh
um,
yes, yes.
and Paco
Sometimes
Rabanne.
probably mispronounced by many people, including me, as Puig.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah. But
Pooge, is it? Okay, yeah. Just so viewers know what we mean.
yeah,
Yep, yep.
yeah,
Go ahead.
Puig,
Sorry. Yep.
Puig, yeah. So I just literally, this shows my age, but I responded to an advert in the newspaper
Yes.
looking for people that could speak different languages. Um, so I went along, I got the job, but I kind of naively, I didn't really know anything about the perfume industry. And suddenly I've got a job in this perfume company. So that's how it happened. So
I like that. Okay, great.
yeah,
So rather than sort of I got into fragrances and was in love with them and then managed to, it was kind of the other way around. You just got a job and it
yeah,
happened to be, oh,
yeah,
brilliant. I
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I like that. That's good. Sometimes that's what happens. Sometimes it's the practical stuff that
yeah,
makes the difference in life. Okay, well, we're going to find out a little bit more about that as we go
yeah.
forward. But I'm going to dive in now because
Okay,
many viewers get impatient with me when the list doesn't start at the
okay.
early enough. I get people saying skip his stupid intro,
Yeah,
go
skip
to
the
four
waffle. Get to
minutes.
the
Yeah.
get to the perfume smelling. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm used to that. Okay, so what is your first pick in the 5 fragrances that you
Okay. So
cherish most?
I've cracked open a new bottle actually. So it's Zonka from L'Artisan Parfumeur. Um, and the reason I've chosen this is because it was my gateway drug into kind of niche or whatever we're calling this these days. So yeah, I was working for Pooch, and it was the late 1990s. So I was wearing very commercial perfumes. I worked on things like 212, 212 Men, Caroline Herrera,
Oh,
Paco
wow.
Rabanne, that sort of stuff. Um, Quorum, Aqua Quorum, I worked on that a bit in the
Oh,
90s.
wow. You were involved with that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
But then I obviously my tastes in perfume, I was really interested. If I do something, I want to be in it, right? I don't want to do anything half-heartedly. So I just came across this shop one day in Paris, L'Artisan Parfumeur, and it was just really mind blowing. It was kind of eye opening. It's like, oh, this is what different kind of perfumery looks like, and this is what it smells like. So the bottles were very basic and different from the bottles that I've got there, which are not even the up to date ones because after I left, they redesigned the packaging.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, L'Artisan Parfumeur, I think for a lot of people was that gateway into something else, a different kind of perfumery, alternative artistic perfumery, whatever it's called. So it's always very special to me. And then this perfume, Zonka, is kind of like not one of the better known ones. Like Timbuktu, people always talk about.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of people seem to know the last one I did, which was Noir Exquis. I think that's done very well. That was my sort of swan song. Um,
Yes. So you just so viewers know, you were involved with the brand.
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
I should have explained that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was a customer, and then
Yes.
in the mid 2000s, I
Mhm.
went to work there as the kind of
Wow.
product creative director, and I was
Awesome.
there till 2015 when I left to come back to London to start my own thing. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So it's
That's
a very
fantastic.
special a chapter in my life. I loved it. It was amazing. I mean, really incredible time working with people like Bertrand Duchefort, who did Zonka.
Yeah.
So many happy memories, many beautiful perfumes. And
Yes.
I think Zonka is like you put it on. I mean, it's just an amazing sort of woody, incensey iris, a little bit of carrot seed oil, papyrus. Again, I'm not sure if you read the notes necessarily on like websites.
Yeah.
I don't know if you get the feeling of the
So what
perfume.
So how would you sort of to disregard the notes then? And the name intrigues me. I must admit I haven't tried that one. What's the sort of overall aura of Zonka then?
It's a really spiritual perfume. It's
Wow.
really
Okay.
unique. I really don't think there's anything else like it.
Mm.
Someone told me, I don't know if this is true, that the Santal 33 Le Labo, that they were very inspired, Fabrice and Eddie, the creators, by Zonka.
Okay.
Um, But you know what? L'Artisan Parfumeur, for people that know it or don't know it, doesn't do these kind of really loud, noisy perfumes.
Mm,
Zonka definitely lasts on skin, but it's not like a beast mode, volume projector.
yeah.
So I think that kind of defines a lot of the perfumery I like, actually, in my own style. So Zonka is a little bit sweet, a little bit
Yeah.
woody, a little bit smoky, a little bit fruity, but it's just gloriously elegant, comfortable perfumery.
Mhm.
Yeah, check it out. Really, it's amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Okay, guys. Yeah, well, I think it's always good to have these kind of interviews because we very often get quite a few fragrances that we haven't talked about on my channel. So people get to discover new stuff, and I really get
yeah,
the feeling that L'Artisan Perfumer is sort of the real perfumers or perfume connoisseur or perfume writer's choice. One of those ones. It's not the most hyped brands, like the big brands that we all hear of, but
yeah,
so many of you guys who are really in the industry and know the perfumers and all this. You often mention this brand as
yeah.
really influential and important.
I
So
think so. I mean, for
yeah,
me, it's a real reference, and it remains a real reference in the kind of perfumery I like to wear, I like to create. Yeah,
yeah, brilliant. Okay, and nice to find out a bit more about your story. So you've got that real, that real heritage in the industry, going back to the world a little bit before the Instagram and the online
yeah.
influencer. Before there was a niche thing
It's very,
online as a big thing. It was more
yeah.
old school, I
You
guess.
have to look for things.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm in my mid 40s now. I'm a little bit nostalgic in a way for that
Yes,
time. That
yes,
you discovered Zonka and you were the only person that wore it.
yeah.
And I worked in perfumery, so people knew a lot of perfumes. But I felt like, oh, it's like something I've discovered. It's a nice feeling. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's harder to be that way now with everything being exposed so much, which is good and
Yeah.
bad. So
Yeah.
yeah, lovely. Okay, so that was a really good and
That's
interesting,
it.
different first
Okay.
choice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to number two now,
So
please.
number two is a perfume. You interviewed her. So it's the Black Knight from Francesca Bianchi.
Yes.
Uh, so full disclosure, Francesca is a good friend. But putting that aside, I'm seriously in awe of her. I mean, first of all, she's so clever. She's so cultured, refined, everything you want to be. But she's also fun and amazingly creative and an amazing perfumer. So I kind of feel a little bit in awe of her style. It's very rich. They're almost like Middle Eastern attars in the
Mm,
sort of density of the composition.
mm,
Um, I really do genuinely love all of her work. I love her a lot. But this one's very special because again, I don't want to necessarily just talk about the notes because I don't
no,
think
no,
you need to. But her
don't.
style is leathery. She's a big lover of iris. You
Mm,
feel that smoothness in all her compositions. I think it's her secret recipe. Um, but I put this on and I really do feel like I'm okay, it's a bit weird, but a character from history on a horse,
yeah.
riding across like the Russian steppe. It's a sort of Cossack thing.
Mm,
I love wearing it. It's quite autumnal winter. These are rich, full-bodied perfumes.
yeah, yeah,
But it's, you know what, you can wear these in the summer. I mean, I like wearing these in the summer evening more than during the daytime heat.
yeah.
Uh, but fantastic work, real character.
Mm,
Um, and I think sometimes for me, that's what's missing at the moment in a lot of niche.
mm,
You smell them and they just feel a little bit generic in a way, I'm afraid. And I think with Francesca's work, you don't feel it's generic at all. You really feel like this has been done with intelligence and a lot of soul. So they're beautiful. They're beautiful perfumes.
yeah, I'm a big fan of so many of her
Yeah.
fragrances. The one that I own and that I purchased was Etruscan Water,
Okay.
which is one of
Yeah.
the older ones. And
Yeah.
obviously, being a sort of old school fragrance fan, I
Yeah.
really enjoy that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic, pungent tenacity on
Oh,
those.
God,
They're
I'm
very strong,
strong,
but
aren't they? Yeah.
I love them. And I've just actually got the new one from the name of the new brand of hers escapes me, but
Hedonique.
I shall put that on the screen.
Yeah.
I've just got the wonderfully named Divine
Oh yeah,
Perversion.
she's
So
great naming, isn't she? Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, she's very provocative in her
Yeah.
titles, and we love a bit of that around here. So yeah, really great
Yeah.
choice, and yeah,
It does
lovely.
surprise me that the Etruscan water's the favourite. Yeah, for you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, it's my kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I was very taken with. Sorry.
You know the Black Knight. Have you smelt
I
that?
think I sampled it ages ago, but I must admit I can't recall everything about it. So I think I had a small sample once. Or there's a couple of the more sort of sweet and gourmandy ones that are really good as well. I can't remember
Sticky
now which
Fingers,
ones.
maybe?
Yes,
That's
that was
great.
rather. It's not exactly my thing, but it was. They're really just characterful. Never
Yeah.
bland and
Yeah,
very
yeah,
very
yeah.
creative. So
None
yeah,
of them
one and a
are
lovely.
wrong.
Yeah, a lovely lady too, and
Yes, she
yeah,
is.
so
Great.
it was great to have her on the show. Now, so that's two really good choices. I'll just
Okay.
deviate a little bit then. So
Yes.
just a brief bit on the overall thing about you and your brand then. So Gallivant Perfumes, obviously the word gallivant, you can gallivant around the world. I like what you did there. It ties in with the idea. I think they all come in a rather. I like the 30 ml size
Yes.
because it means we can
Yes.
probably, it probably helps you keep the price reasonable. Maybe it even helps with shipping around the world. I don't know, because there's the old 30 ml limit of what you can send. I don't know, but
Exactly.
I think
Yeah.
these are kind of, it makes them very collectible. I think you can,
I hope
and
so.
they it actually makes them great for traveling because it's that small. It's not
Yeah.
too much of a hassle to put it in your suitcase. Or I'm a terrible one for putting the perfume in my pocket on a night out. But anyway, you could even do that with these.
You
But
can. I mean,
what was
listen,
the? Go on, yeah, yeah.
and for me, the other element of it was that, when I started out, I mean, I had a bit of a like decluttering when I left my life at L'Artisan Parfumeur, and I came back, and I think
Yeah.
I had like, I can't really remember. It's about 337 perfumes at that point. And my
Yeah,
God, it's just like too much, right?
I'm like
So
that. Yeah,
I wanted to edit right down. I wanted to really go back to sort of basics, and have a really small, tight edit. And a lot of us who enjoy perfume, we don't need these big bottles always. So I
I
sort of
always say
felt like
this. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'd like to. I'm a new brand. I'm still a new kid on the block. If I can be a little part of your perfume wardrobe, then I'm thrilled to bits. I don't need to have this massive, huge mega bottle.
No.
I think monogamy is no longer existing in many fields,
Yeah,
not least perfumery. So
yeah.
it's kind of recognition of how people use perfume as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point because you sometimes see people say, "Well, oh, you should get the bigger size because it's better value." So I've got the 150 ml, which is a cheap one, but that
Yeah.
makes sense if you just use one thing. But many people don't. So I've
No.
got many 100 ml bottles that will probably outlive me. I'm afraid to say
Well, let's hope not.
because I've.
But, yeah.
I
I know
know
what
it's
you mean,
true.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
and I
there's
can't
nothing
put.
sadder in a way than a perfume sort of lingering, gathering dust at the back of a cupboard. I mean,
Yes.
perfume needs skin. Perfume
Yeah.
needs skin to come alive and have its own life. So I
Mm.
don't really like this idea of keeping things for special occasions, and
No.
I think that's is a bit sad, really.
I think you're absolutely. Yeah, I don't save things for best, guys.
Yeah.
Just you make every day
Yeah.
your best guy, your best day. Yeah, absolutely.
Enjoy them. Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea of the brand. What year did you actually start the brand?
I launched in March 2017, so I've been going for 4.5 years. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty recent then. And you've got a range of, I don't know if you know the exact number, but it's quite a number of different fragrances now. 10.
10.
Lovely
10.
number.
Yeah.
And they range from, I've got a few here actually. We've got Amsterdam, which I actually sprayed on today. I've got
Okay.
probably my favorite is Bukhara. If you want a
Yes.
beautiful sort of, I don't know, translucent iris,
Yeah.
almost
Yeah.
spiritual, again, I think was a word you used.
Yeah.
It gives me that kind of I'm not a very meditational person, as you can probably guess, but it almost makes me feel a little bit more calm. And yeah, Bukhara, a city in Uzbekistan,
That's right.
another off the radar location, which I really
Yeah.
like that you picked those. That's really beautiful. And the slightly more raunchy and decadent, I think I was lucky enough to go to your launch event for this, Los
Oh, Los Angeles.
Angeles.
Yeah.
Yes. I
Oh,
guess that's a more famous city for many people.
yeah.
That's a real beautiful one too. So you've really traversed the globe with these, and I really recommend. I'm sure you have sample sets that people can check out. I'll link, of course, Gallivant in the description, and people
Yeah.
can get those in most of the places where they're likely to be watching this video. Is that
I think
right?
so, yeah. I mean, UK, obviously, USA,
Yep.
we can ship the sets, which is great. Because I'm
Yeah.
not really, Dan, I maybe shouldn't say this, but I get a bit freaked out sometimes when customers blind buy bottles.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer, and you really don't know until you have it on your own skin.
Yeah.
Um, Even if they're really, really well informed and they really know how to read
Yeah.
a notes listing.
Yeah.
You don't know the dosages, you don't know which rose, which vanilla. So yeah, I really try and make it easy for people to sample,
Yep.
and then come back if you
That's
love
very
it.
important. Yeah, and I'm sure many do come back. And yeah, I really like the theme of the brand. I like the presentation as well. Very charming boxes. And there was an outer thing on the Los Angeles, which there's a lovely little sort of, oh, there it is. Yeah, a little map of the city on there.
Yeah,
Just it's very charming and sort of thing, just lovely. If you do have a few of them, they do look nice. And well, I agree with you about the blind buying, but I have to admit sometimes I do like a cheap thrill. So
yeah. I mean, listen, we
it's
all like to live dangerously sometimes, so
yeah,
it's okay now and again. But
yeah,
yeah, sometimes when I think a new customer who doesn't really
mm,
know my style with Gallivant and they
yeah.
blind buy, I will kind of email and say, "Are you sure you don't want to start with some samples?" And we'll do
Yeah.
that. So
Well, I think that's very commendable of you. Okay, now I'm gonna get a little bit more about, because I'm in little intriguing question about how it is to survive in this very saturated world of fragrance content online and brands,
yeah,
but we'll get back to that. I think we should just go for choice number 3 next,
okay.
please.
So choice number 3 is a brand which I just feel isn't that talked about, which is so bizarre to me. So Healy. So James Healy, he's an English guy based in Paris. So obviously there was a kind of link, I guess. People used to ask me, are you and James friends?" And I'm like,
Mm.
it's because two English people live in Paris. We don't like hang out with each other.
Quite a big place, yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he's a little bit, I feel, under the radar, and I don't
Yeah.
really know why, because the perfumes are just incredible. And again, I just feel there's a cleverness, there's a sort of thoughtfulness about everything he does that really appeals to me. They're not overhyped, and you smell them, and they're just amazing quality. So this Mont Fraîche, this one I've chosen as one of my 5, is really a summer special for me. Every summer, I just instinctively reach for it, and I spend half the summer wearing this. So obviously, it's fresh mint in English. It's minty, it's citric, lemony, but then it kind of dries down into something very still and cedarwoody, quite dry. I think there's quite a lot of musk as well. Very
Mm.
comfortable skin scent, which is lovely in the hot weather. Um, so yeah, I kind of love this style of perfumery that feels thoughtful. It's not shouty.
Yeah.
I don't wear perfume because I want people to compliment it or notice it.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
do wear it for my own pleasure.
Yes.
I don't know. Does that make me like really awfully selfish? I don't know.
No, I
Um,
think many of us now are coming to really, really agree with you. Well, I think many people always did. So just to mention that brand, that sounds. I don't know anything about the brand. I've got to be totally honest. But I love a bit of mint in a fragrance. So Healy
yeah,
is the brand. It's a month. Your
Monster.
pronunciation,
Yeah,
yeah,
Monster.
Montfresh, as I'm going to say. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
absolutely off the radar choice, and
yeah.
that's why I love these interviews, because we're not plugging the same old stuff that I've got in
Yeah.
my collection. So really good. But I think a really good point. People always love to engage on this about the to wear for compliments. I actually just did a video about fragrances for people who don't need external validation.
Okay.
I actually called it fragrances for men with kahunas, but that
Okay.
was
All
just
right.
to get some clicks.
Yeah.
But it was actually quite a popular video and people liked
Oh,
it. So
yeah.
we're getting a lot of these lists about compliments and things on the YouTube, which is obviously my sort of sphere. And
Yeah.
I get why people do it, because I've done it myself.
Yeah.
But when you used to buy a fragrance before the internet and stuff, I didn't massively think about compliments that much. And if I occasionally got one, it was quite nice. But yeah, I really do
Yeah.
agree that
Yeah.
yeah, one should wear these things for this nice feeling that it gives you when you spray it on. I
Completely.
think,
And
yeah.
And Dan, if I can, I think one of the issues is maybe people are intimidated about niche and perfumery in general.
Yeah.
And that's like bad on us. We've made it a bit too complicated. So I have cut, I have my studio in Dalston, not far from my
Yes.
home here in Islington. And,
Yes.
customers come and it's lovely, really come, everyone's welcome. I like chatting about perfume.
Yeah.
And remember, they tell me lots of things. So it's a two-way thing. But often people come and they're like, oh, I'm really intimidated and I don't know how to smell properly and I don't know all the notes and I don't know the materials.
Yeah.
I'm like, stop, stop, stop. Please trust your nose, trust your
Yeah.
own tastes. And I fear sometimes the compliment thing
Mm.
is about people not trusting their own judgment. They
Yes.
don't know, they're not confident to say, do you know what? I love wearing this perfume. They're only feeling good about it when someone says, oh, that's good. And you
Yes.
know what? You don't need other people to tell you that this is a good perfume. If you
Exactly.
like wearing it, it's a good perfume. Yeah.
That's a very, very good point. Yeah, and this is exactly kind of what I said in the video. I also said you can't really second guess what the other person might like or not if you're going on a date or whatever. You don't know. Somebody might love pineapple on their pizza or they might not, and it just doesn't mean one thing's right or not. You
Yeah.
really can't. They might hate the smell of your perfume because they just don't like chocolatey smells, or they might love it. So you
Yeah.
simply can't guess. So you may as well
Yeah.
please yourself. And I think you're very right about that. You don't need to have an advanced nose to try a niche fragrance. I've got a whole YouTube channel. I'm not very good at smelling something blind and telling you all the notes, but because my channel is just about the enjoyment of someone who is a collector and an enthusiast, but not really an expert on the art of perfumery. So
Yeah.
you can absolutely enjoy it, just as you can listen to a great piece of music or a band without being able to play the
Absolutely the
instrument
same.
or knowing the
Yeah.
chord progression. Or so yeah, you don't need to start out with only designer and niche. You have to work up to it. You can
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
anything. I think you're absolutely right there. Yeah.
And I think, Dan, when you work with, I've been so privileged in my career. I've worked with greats like Bertrand, L'Artisan Parfumé. Literally our desks were like, together.
Wow.
Because
Bertrand Duchefort, just for viewers, yeah, well known, of
yeah.
course, perfumer. Yeah, yep.
And he's just really at the top of his game and technically like on another level. And then someone like Ralph Schwieger, he's a good friend of mine. We've known each other a long time. He did Bukhara for me. And when you're with them, people like think they're stars and whatever, and people want to take pictures of them and get them to autograph stuff, but they're just normal human beings as well, remember? So you
Yeah.
talk about perfume with them and you smell things with them. And to be honest, they don't have any interest in going, okay, the top notes are this, that, and the other, and the heart, and then the transition and the progression into the base notes of, amber catal or whatever. That's
Yeah.
boring to them as well.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
what consumers are actually that interested in.
Yeah.
The good ones, I think. So yeah, forget about over obsessing with can I identify the notes. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Judge your nose. Judge with your nose. Yeah. Like you would with
Absolutely.
food. It's no more complicated. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely right. I think we agree on that. So that's good to know. Do we do three? I'm going to get one more pick from you, and then I'm going to dig a little bit deeper on a couple of topics. So, what's your next selection,
So
please?
my next one is from a brand that I'm sure everybody knows, is Byredo. But I've picked this one. This is actually my favorite from really the whole range, which is getting bigger and bigger. 1996. So this is, again, I feel like not many people really like this one. It's not one of the ones that's a bestseller, but I love this one. It's woody. It's got a real pronounced vetiver note. It's a material I really love. I love to smell it. I love wearing it. Really nice quality perfume. A bit leathery. I think there's some labdanum in there probably. A little bit fruity, spicy in the opening. It's just a really, really good composition. It's a good evolution from a beginning, middle to an end. And I like a perfume to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, like a story does.
Yeah.
I'm not really into very linear stuff myself. So yeah, I think this is a really great one from Byredo, which is quite hyped as a brand.
It is. Yes.
Yeah. But I think this
That's
is a
not
really, really good perfume.
that's
So
not the one we always hear of. Okay, 1996.
1996.
Well, I was young back then, but do you know why it's called that?
I don't know. It was
No.
released. It wasn't released in '96. I don't think it was released until the
Oh,
early 2000s.
no.
I don't know actually what the story of the name is.
Okay, well, thanks for picking another one that again we don't hear much about. So, and it's called a Swedish brand, isn't it? Is that right?
Yeah, he's like Swedish Indian background, the founder. He works with a perfumer called Jérôme Epinette. Jérôme is like a real star. I think he's done all of the Byredo
Hmm.
perfume. Um, so in some ways, I feel more his style than anything else, which is welcome. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so yeah, great. Another under the radar choice, which I always like. So we've had a few great choices already. I'm just going to briefly just ask you something. Then. So you started the brand Gallivant. You only launched your brand in 2017. There are quite a lot of new brands, which is great because
Yeah.
we've got so much choice now. But how is it to sort of it must be quite a competitive world, and you've got that great industry experience, which probably helps. But how do you sort of approach launching a new niche fragrance brand in 2017? You're not quite able to compete with Chanel or even
No.
Creed or Amouage in terms of your power to throw it out there to everybody. So how on earth do you sort of, it must be quite daunting. What's the sort of,
Yeah.
how do you approach that?
I think I sort of been working for over 20 years in perfume, and I sort of felt like, okay, I've left this brand. It's a reference. It's the kind of perfumery I really wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to be my own boss. That was sort of the driver for me, and it was really scary, to be honest. And I
I
kind of
bet.
say to people who say to me, "Oh, I want to start my own brand," if it's in you, do it.
Yeah.
Don't overthink it. Just throw yourself off, the edge into the abyss. And it's bloody scary, but just do it and see what happens. And I was sort of lucky that I had a certain history from my career, that people
Mm,
were even a little bit interested to smell what I was going to do. That kind of helped me.
yeah.
But you know what? I'll be really honest. Like, I started it with my own money. I
Mm,
don't have like $1 million investor behind me, because I don't want that.
no.
Um, so I don't know if people realize this, but at the beginning I was like, I hand wrote all the labels for the vials, all the
Yeah.
2 ml vials.
Yeah.
So my mum and dad helped me fill the vials, put the cartons together. It was really a family affair. It's not like it's a
Mm,
big corporate business.
yeah.
So I think people need to be a bit more realistic. I think sometimes there's brands that come along now in niche, and they just look to me a little bit cynical, like, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to sell to Estee Lauder or L'Oreal in a few years' time and make loads of money.
Mm,
Good luck to them if that's what happens, if
mm.
that's the dream. But it's not why I started Gallivant. So we're probably much smaller and much more chaotic than people can imagine. Yeah, from the outside. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a great story, but it seems to be working out well because you've just been telling me you're quite overrun with orders to fulfill. So it's
Yeah.
going. I take it it's going well.
Yeah. I still, I never take it for granted though. It's like,
No.
I really don't. I'm like, oh my God, it's an order. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I don't know why I'm surprised. So yeah.
Yeah, well, this it's good never to take these things for granted, but yeah,
Yeah.
really pleased to see that it's going well. Well deserved, I think. So we've had, I think we've had four choices. So we're going to
All
go to your
choices.
fifth and final
Okay.
choice. Go for
So
it.
my final choice is a French brand. So quite a lot of French brands here. Sorry.
Fine.
Serge Lutens.
Yes.
So I think once I'd really got into l'artisan parfumeur, then I discovered Serge Lutens. And I actually lived just around the corner in the first arrondissement from the Palais Royal, which is
Uh,
Serge Lutens' kind of temple kind of shop, where you go as like a pilgrim to smell things that are not available to smell anywhere else in the world. And it's a really particular kind of universe, very dark, sort of Middle Eastern in a way, but with sort of like a French take on it. And a very kind of interesting perfumery, a little bit like Francesca Bianchi in a way, rich,
Yeah.
kind of some Middle Eastern influences. And this one is actually one of the later ones, Fils de Joie, which is a
Biche de joie.
jasmine. And I really have a kind of love-hate relationship with jasmine. A lot of the jasmine perfumes are kind of overly feminine for me, or they smell a little bit like overripe fruit,
Yeah.
bananas sometimes. And I don't particularly want to smell like a sort of, banana that's gone a bit, overripe.
Yeah.
But this is just this rich sort of jasmine with almost sort of fruity aspect. And quite woody, musky as well in the dry down, a lovely evolution on skin. Quite big. I mean, I've said, I'm not really interested in beast mode perfumery, but Serge Lutens perfumes are not shrinking violets. You're wearing one.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think they smell like other people's perfumery.
No.
There's a really great perfume called Ombre Sultan, which is,
I was going to say that one. That's my favorite. I haven't got it, but I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an incredible creation.
Yes.
And I have to say, I'm really flattered. Sometimes people say to me, "Oh, I used to wear Ombre Sultan from Lutens. Now I wear Istanbul from Gallivant." So,
Okay.
we're always referencing, I think, things that were done before
Of
coming
course.
before. I personally have a real pet hate when people say, "Oh, our perfumes are completely revolutionary and disruptive, and nothing from the past interests me." I find that a bit arrogant, actually.
Yeah.
What, don't you know the perfumes that were done in previous generations that are amazing, and don't you love them?
Yeah.
So yeah, I owe a big gratitude to Serge Lutens as well. Certainly,
Great.
Ombre Sultan is something I love.
Yes. I love
I
that.
wear
It's incredible.
Istanbul now more than I wear Ombre Sultan.
Oh wow! So many people are finding that's if you like Ombre Sultan, you might just also love Istanbul. So
I
that I
think
now
so.
need to revisit Istanbul
Okay.
by you guys actually, because I
Yeah.
think that Ombre Sultan was a real mind blowing one for me. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's very special.
yeah,
Yeah.
great stuff. It's good to see you acknowledge that you are a little bit influenced by other people,
Oh
because I
God,
think
totally.
it'd be strange if anybody wasn't really, wouldn't it?
Totally.
Yeah,
I mean, listen, what I don't do is I don't ever begin a project and sort of say, right, this is the benchmark. We have
yeah,
to re-look at the formula. We have to look at the projection, the technicity. I mean, I'm
no,
really not interested in doing that.
no,
I mean, sometimes it's interesting because subconsciously, obviously, things are in my head. I don't necessarily realize it. You
mm,
know, a customer said to me a few months ago, like 1996, I sort of feel a little bit of the influence of that in Amsterdam.
yeah,
Um, and I don't always see the links,
mm,
but yeah, you smell 1996 against Amsterdam. There's something of a similar vibe, maybe. But of course, if you put the formulas up against each other or a notes listing, they're not going to seem the same.
no.
Um, which is why I think perfumery is really difficult in that way, that you've got to smell it, you've got to form your own opinions. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's the only time you really get to experience something. And yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, I think it's great that things can be described as having nuances, a little hint of this or a little hint. You might find it's reminiscent of this, but sometimes people take that too literally.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've said it in a review, and then they say, "Oh, well, you just said that it's just like X fragrance," and it's not to me. It was like, well, no, I just meant you might get a little kind of a slight hint of that if you sort of dig deep. But yeah, it's good
Yeah.
that you acknowledge
Oh,
the
absolutely. I
great
mean,
perfumes of the past.
I'm a perfume, creator, whatever you want to call me, with my
Yeah.
own brand. But of course, I love to wear other people's perfumes. I mean, with Bukhara that you really love,
Oh yeah,
I
it's
mean,
good.
I didn't really have it in a sort of front of mind, but do you know Lorenzo Villarese's Teint de Neige? Um,
Yes, yes, the kind of white bottle and a very, very big seller for them. Yeah,
yeah,
huge seller. Yeah, yeah.
very, powdery, a little bit old-fashioned, a little
Mm,
bit vintage in a
mm,
feel. I mean, it's a perfume I love and I
mm.
wear. And I wore it the other day, and someone said to me, "Oh, is it Bukhara?" And I said,
Mm.
"Oh, no, they don't smell alike. They really don't smell alike, but
Yeah.
I can kind of see the feeling is
Yeah.
similar." So yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I have smelled that one, and I was rather taken with the uniqueness of Taint Deneige. I can see why
Yeah.
it's so popular. But I certainly wouldn't say Bukhara is like very, very similar. But I get what you mean there. I get what you mean. Yeah.
I think there's a kind of comfortableness about both of them. That's what's maybe the
Yeah.
common ground. So I think sometimes in perfumery, when people say to you, "Oh, we smell Berlin from me, and it reminds me of X," and I'm a little bit like, "Oh, I can't see it myself, but I don't think it's ever wrong of people to say, 'Oh, it reminds me of something,'
Yeah.
because it's something in your own memory, and perfume is very personal.
It
So
is.
I don't feel that, oh, yeah, that's the wrong answer, or no, that's wrong, or no, I don't sort of see it that way, personally.
Good. Yeah, I like the open-mindedness and the honesty there. All right, so we've had some fantastic information, 5 great fragrances, and I'm sure are sort of new picks for a lot of people. As I always say with people who happen to have their own perfume brand, I'll put you on the spot. I know it's like picking your favorite child, but can you perhaps highlight one of your fragrances, whichever one you'd like to share with us as a
It
particular
is hard.
favorite
So
at the
honestly,
moment?
I spent a long time with them. I mean, 3 years with Naples with Luca. I was probably driving her
Wow,
a bit mad.
really?
But yeah, we're slow. I mean, I take a lot of time. So by the time you smell it as a launch, it's been in my life quite a while already.
Wow.
But okay, I'm going to choose one, and not because I know you like this one, but Bukhara. I mean, Bukhara, I launched last year. Yeah, last year.
Yep.
Bit mad to launch it in the middle of a global crisis, but never mind. It's gone very well. And I'm a big fan of Iris. I know you like Iris as well.
Yeah.
And there's obviously an element of me that's a bit like, do you know what? I love the Iris perfumes on the market. I wear things like La Pausa of Chanel, but I want to do it in our own way. I want it to be fresher.
Mm.
I want it to feel more modern, more unisex. To be really frank, I think sometimes Iris is in like, oh, it's definitely for women,
Mm.
and I kind of wanted to say, guys, listen, you can wear an Iris perfume, an Iris
Yeah.
fragrance. And I just, you know what, Baccara, every time I wear it, I just sort of think, my God, Ralph is really an incredible talent.
Mm.
The composition is, it's got this hot, cold contrast, which
Mm.
is one of the ideas from my trip in Central Asia. Sometimes it's very hot,
Yep.
sometimes you're very cold because of the expanse of Earth. So at
Yeah.
night it can be very, very cold because there's no cloud cover and you're just on the steppe. Um, there's this play between Iris, the woodiness, and the powdery earthiness. So it's something I wear, and I'm just never stopping thinking about how interesting it is as a perfume. That's, I think,
Yeah.
the deal of it for me. Yeah.
I agree. Definitely, absolutely beautiful stuff. Very nuanced, and absolutely for anybody, man or woman. I mean, I would say the only one of yours that seems to lean probably quite feminine. Actually, I'm wearing it today. Is Amsterdam, which is very floral. You've done a clever thing with the tulip thing, with obviously
Yeah. I mean,
Holland, but it's
I'm going to slightly disagree because I think the leathery amberiness. I love Amsterdam. I mean, I love wearing
yeah,
Amsterdam,
yeah.
first of
Oh,
all.
okay.
But I do love I love smelling it on men.
Okay.
I mean, I know what you mean. Maybe it's the saffron
Mm,
out, the leathery sort of aspect is really overdosed. So it's quite
mm.
spicy floral. So I can see it on
Now that
men.
it's developing, I'm getting more spice. Actually, I think the opening
Yeah.
look, it was only let's just say many people would perceive it in the first few minutes as a quite a feminine floral smell. But yeah, as it dries down, it does develop. But yeah, I think the point really that I wanted to make is overwhelmingly these are genderless kind of fragrances and
Yeah.
very
And
very
I don't have
versatile.
any
Very
political drum to bang on that at all. I really genuinely, I see customers every day in the studio. I try just to listen to what they tell me they like. And
mm,
what's really fascinating is when we stop talking, which, I talk a lot, so it's hard to imagine, but I do stop talking and they
yes.
tell me really surprising things. Like men smell Tel Aviv, for example, which is full of jasmine and
Mm,
freesia, a really floral bouquet.
yeah.
And they go, "Oh, I love that one. It's really fresh."
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I love that part of having a brand. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think I know quite a few ladies who are a bit cross that they have been given the impression that they shouldn't wear an old fougere or Dracar Noir, and they actually they really like it. So it goes, yeah, anything goes.
I think sometimes it's the juxtaposition, actually.
Yeah,
Like often when I smell really sort of, a customer the other day, she came wearing Aramis,
yeah, cool.
really old school
Yeah,
gentleman
yeah,
scent,
love it. Yeah, yeah.
and I loved it on her. I mean, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Very ceramic, very sort of leathery.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
great to smell that on different skin. So yeah, I
yeah.
like it when people sort of go the other way. Yeah.
Yeah, there are no rules. Okay, well, thank you for sharing these amazing perfumes that I've discovered from your brand, and I think the viewers will love the different choices from you. Last thing, then, just on the world of sort of, obviously, you're a brand owner and a creator, and I'm sure there's many different ways that you try and publicize your products and things, and you're in stores and all that kind of stuff. But do
Yeah.
you ever dip into very much the world of YouTube and Instagram, and what do you make of it? What do you make of things like Jeremy Fragrance and some of the bigger YouTube stuff? Do you watch it? Do you care? Does it
Um,
matter to you guys?
yeah, of course it matters because it's a way of, well, first of all, it's a way of communicating with customers. I mean, that's really nice, genuinely. One of the things I really enjoy about what I do and having my own brand is personal. I know customers, I know names, some of them become my friends. It's great. It's a proper community. So that
Mm.
I really, really genuinely like. Sometimes I guess, like a lot of people, I'm just overwhelmed. Um, I don't have the time to sort of follow everyone on Instagram,
No, no.
keep up with everyone, and blah blah blah. I suppose I think there's a really good side of it that's helping people discover more under the radar smaller brands. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel a little bit like FOMO, fear of missing out. I'm like, oh my god, all these brands are, they're in Harrods and they've sent bottles out to everybody, and I'm like, okay, I can't really afford to do all of that. And
No.
yeah, I think you feel a bit like, oh, I don't have the resources to do what those bigger brands are doing.
Yeah.
And that's a bit tough sometimes, but I'm fine with it because I'm like a bit in my own lane,
Yeah.
just trying to do what I do, and that's very busy.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't have a lot of time, I guess, to worry too much about social and am I doing enough and
Yeah.
what are other people doing. I think the secret to happiness for all of us is not caring too much about what other people are doing. So yeah, I try to think
Yeah,
that.
I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, some people sort of because obviously YouTube is as well as being a fragrance person, I'm a YouTuber, so I care about the
Yeah,
YouTube bit, but I don't watch tons of other fragrance reviewers videos, and my channel just plods along as quite a nice following. But obviously, loads of people come along and shoot past me and get more views. People come along who've only started last year and they've got there's no point letting that upset you because
no,
they're their kind of thing. They're a bit more mass appealing, and but it's inevitable that some of these younger reviewers appeal to the younger audience. But it doesn't mean
yeah,
I'm doing badly, so I can still be happy. Well, if you're a small and niche brand, I hope you'll become even bigger. But very doing great, but you're not the biggest niche brand in the world.
no,
Just have to be
no,
happy that I actually have a life that I enjoy as a medium small YouTuber,
exactly.
and don't
Yeah,
compare yourself to others because, as you say, that doesn't make you happy.
and I'm not being sycophantic, but I think one of the things I really love when I see your stuff is that there's a sense of humor.
Yes,
um
not
I mean,
everyone appreciates it, but
well,
yes,
maybe
I
some people
try.
don't, but I just like when I came back from Paris in 2015,
Mm,
a friend of mine said to me, "Why don't you start your own brand in France? Because you've been there like a long time, and surely your network is there and stuff." And I said, "Well, I love France, and I love myself in French actually, but I'm English, and I want to start the brand here, and I want a bit of an English sense of humor to it. Niche is a bit serious
can
sometimes."
be, yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I think it's a bit off-putting, honestly. So
yeah,
I like it when you can be really serious about perfume
yeah,
and
yeah.
what I am, but making it. But I also think it's meant to be pleasurable. It's meant to be fun, um, And if
It
all the
should be.
joy is gone, then what's the point? So yeah.
Yes, it is absolutely, and it's one of the kind of the nicer things in life, the icing on the cake of life, a little luxury. And I think it's still fun that we do associate it with maybe a little bit of seductiveness
Yeah.
and
Playfulness,
even
you know?
amorousness and things like that. And if we
Yeah.
pretend that that doesn't go in with the fragrances a bit, I think it's a shame. So yeah, I always appreciate that, and I appreciate your humility. And although your brand is entirely very serious and excellent, I appreciate your very down to earth and honest approach to the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's been really a huge pleasure to have
Well,
you on the
thank
show,
you.
Nick. I really hope we can interact again.
We will.
Have
We
a
will.
have a look at my Friday Fragcom live show,
Okay.
but
Okay.
I would say that it's a bit. I wouldn't want to put you through the torture of actually appearing on the show, but you never know. Maybe we'll get you
Okay.
on after a few
How
glasses
late
of
is it?
wine.
You know, I often have
It's
Friday
quite
night
late.
dinner,
It's sort
so
of 10:30 onwards
oh,
on a
okay.
Friday. So
Okay.
yeah, to help with the Americans sort of being a
Okay.
good time. So
Okay.
we'd love to have you have
Okay.
a little
We'll
look
find
at it
a
and
date.
see.
We'll find a
Yeah,
date. Yeah,
it's
I'd love
definitely the lower end of the YouTube perfume
okay.
world,
Do I
intellectually
have to wear a
speaking.
special outfit or something, or no?
Well, I'll be taking care of that here. If
Okay.
you want
All
to, anything goes.
right.
Anything
Okay.
goes. Let's put it that
No
way.
worries.
All
Okay.
right. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm
Thank
going to
you.
end please stay online, but I'll end the broadcast or the
Okay.
recording there. Guys, check out the link in the description. A lovely guy and a great brand, Gallivant Perfumes. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.